Greetings, pilots. We're going to talk about how to find yourself using VOR triangulation. And the best part is you don't have to quit college to find yourself. But seriously, this is probably best suited for, one, the pilot that has not used VORs recently and needs a brush up on how the basic system works for position finding, or for the student pilot or somebody brand new to VORs, as far as the basics of VOR navigation, starting at position finding, but then you could springboard that into using it for navigation. This is a process, and we're going to take it step by step. So for instance, the scenario is you're flying along, your GPS quits, and you have the VOR there. How do we implement this? Step one is you take your chart out and you kind of have an idea of where you're at. You're going to pick a couple of VORs that are offset from each other. And the reason is this: when you have one VOR and you use it for position finding, well, you can determine that you're somewhere down one of the radial lines for that VOR. Now, if that's all the information you have, well, it leaves a little to the imagination. So therefore, if you combine it with another VOR and figure out where you're at down that line, where those two lines meet is your exact position, and that could be extremely beneficial. So let's talk about this a little more in detail. Let's say we're flying along, we think we're in this one certain area. There's a VOR to our northeast, and we're going to use that particular one to figure out where we're at. So we'll put that frequency in our nav side on our radios, and that way you can listen in. Don't forget to listen in on the ID. You compare that to what's on the chart as far as the ID for that VOR and make sure it matches up. Next, you're going to grab the Omni bearing selector, which is the fancy term for the knob on the VOR, and you're going to turn that selector until you see that needle swing and to the center position. So as it comes to the center position, you'll stop turning the knob a little bit, but you're looking for the from indication, and this is key because if it's a 2, you'll have all your information goofed up. So when you turn that to the from indication, and you'll read the number at the top of the dial. Now, be sure to check your particular unit's operation because it could be a little bit different. But when you have that number, you turn the Omni bearing selector, it's centered up, you have that number. Now that's your first answer, essentially. At that point, you return back to the chart, put your pen on the VOR symbol, and draw out whatever that answer is. So let's say it's 230 degrees. You'll put your pen on there and draw down that line. At that point, you could say, well, I know I'm somewhere down this line, and that's really helpful. Let's find another VOR that's perhaps to the northwest or to the east, whatever, and we'll put that frequency in the nav side, listen to the Morse code identifier to make sure we have the right VOR there. Then you will do the same procedure. Grab that Omni bearing selector or that knob on the VOR, rotate that around until the needle centers up. And when that centers up, you should have a from indication. Remember, the from indication is key for finding your answer. When you look at the top of the VOR, you can see what that answer is, and then return back to the chart. And let's say we're dealing with a VOR that's to the northwest now, and we have this one line coming down from the first VOR. We got that line on the chart, and let's say our next answer is 130 degrees. So we'll put our pen or pencil on the VOR symbol that we're using and draw out 130 degrees. Now where those two lines intersect, well, that's where you're at. You could take this a step further as far as visualization is concerned and also determine what your aircraft heading is. So let's say we're here at this point and we look at the compass or the directional gyro and it says we're heading east. So you know, okay, we're down this line and we're heading east, and that'll give you a great idea as far as a game plan.